Hello and welcome back to Minecraft. Today I'm going to be showcasing to you a connect 4 minigame that I made in Minecraft. So here we're in the sort of game hub area, and you can see we have a blue grid in front of us and a couple of buttons. Now these buttons correspond to the columns that we're going to want to place in. But before we get to that, I'm just going to explain the concept to you of connect 4 in case you're not familiar with it. So the idea is that there are two colours which are sort of held by two players. There's red and blue in this case, and what you want to do is you place the blocks or chips in real life into the columns and they fall to the bottom, and then whoever can connect 4 of the same colour, their colour, in a line of 4 wins the game. Now this can be done on the sort of vertical axis, the horizontal axis, and either of the diagonals. So without further ado, I'm just going to show you how to do it. So I'm just going to go over here and click the middle one, and you can see it spawns in a block up there which drops and falls down right in the middle, and there's a little bar along the top of lamps, and it's sort of going along, and that's the progress bar. And once that's complete, it means that it's finished calculating and it's ready to do the next turn, because this actually has some automatic win detection. So if you do win, it will detect it, as the name suggests. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you the winning in action. We're going to do it fairly straightforwardly. We're just going to put 4 reds along the bottom like that. So one turn at a time, it's going to be placing these things on top of each other, waiting for the reset and the calculations to be done, and then going along. And of course, if you were playing with someone else, you wouldn't do it like this. But as you can actually see, I'll point this out, it said the panel is locked, and that's because in between turns it's going to lock the panel so that people can't spam it, and if you want to play fairly and have someone leave whilst you're doing your turn, then that can all be set up. But we're just going to put another blue one down here, and then on the next turn we'll find that we'll be able to win, so long as everything works, that is, which it should. I'm fairly confident this is a pretty solid system. I've done a lot of bug testing. It's been quite a big project, and I'll show you the redstone behind it in a minute. So as you can see, it did detect that the red player won, meaning we got a output for it. And if you had this on a server, or you wanted to sort of tamper with it yourself, you can do that and give any sorts of rewards. But there's also a map reset right over here, so let's go ahead and click that. As you can see, the board gets cleared, and also I have a bunch of memory which was obviously being used to clear everything else, and that's all being reset. As you can see, it says it's the Reds' turn because the Reds start in my version of the game. So of course you can sort of tamper with that again if you really please, but now I'm going to show you the redstone behind it. So there is quite a bit. It's all fairly compactly arranged. I'll give you a quick rundown of it, and then I'll sort of explain some other stuff. So this sort of grey stuff we have over here, I'm just going to switch off the clocks for the time being, because whilst I'm looking at them, they can cause quite a bit of lag. So I'm just going to switch them off. It's a bit better. So the red line is the reset. That's everything that happens when the game is reset. The grey line over here, this is for detecting which column you pressed and spawning the corresponding block. So you can see there's a little spawner minecart with a block in it, a red block. And there's 2 layers of that, obviously, to account for all the situations where it could be a red or a blue in that specific location. And that's simply using the redstone activated spawners filter. And I've done some tutorials on how to make entities work with that and how to make blocks work with that. Not too difficult. Then what we have over here is we have the sort of memory system. Now there's a whole bunch of scoreboards associated with this. So I'm going to do scoreboard objectives list just to give you a little demonstration. As you can see, there's loads of scoreboards. Each of these, there's 72 objectives just sort of managing this game, and that's because we need a single objective for each available spot on the grid, so that when you place it we can determine whether or not a block is there and what sort of block it is, if it's a blue block or a red block. So how this works is basically it will come along, and if it sees that there's no blocks in that column, it will say, okay, so you've just clicked that, meaning that we should add the fact that there's now a red block in that column. And then it will also add one to the whole column score and make sure that it understands that that column now has a single block in it, so that if we come and place a blue block on that column, it will now register that we have 2 blocks in. So this region is already taken by a red block, so we need to fill this block with the blue block, if that makes sense. So it just cascades upwards along the columns, and there's 7 columns and they're all 6 high. So now the large wind detection module, I'm just going to run through this very quickly, because I should actually mention that I'm going to be doing a mini game tutorial series where I'm going to run through a couple mini games. I'm not going to get into it too much now because I'm going to have some videos about it later and some introduction videos, but I'm going to have a whole map making series where we're going to go through mini games like Connect 4 as we have here, and rock paper scissors, and some we have some waves of enemy series, and we're also going to have a whole bunch of map making series that I'm going to be having coming out soon, where we're actually going to build it, but not in real time. I'm just going to go through the steps that you need to build it and such like that, but here I'm just explaining the raw logic. Right, now I'm going to explain the logic behind the wind detection, and it may sound complicated, but it's actually really quite simple. The idea of the game, as I said, is to connect 4 in a line, so that's exactly what the wind detection does. It checks all the verticals, all the horizontals, and all the diagonals, and there are 7 scoreboards that it attaches this to, and that's just to make things quicker. So I'm going to explain it for one and then show you how it's applied to a larger scale. Now I'm going to take some block, which preferably isn't the color of the grid. I'm just going to place it right here. So if this is an orange block and the memory has registered it as an orange block, it can't because there's no such thing as an orange block, but say it has for some amazing reason, the system will start and it will go along this vertical here. Now it will check the memory for this, and it will check for 3 things. It will check if there's a different colored block, a air block, or it's that block. And if it's that block, it will add one to a win objective, and if it's any of the other, it will set that win objective to 0. So then it will test this block, and if there is a block there of the same thing, it will do exactly the same, and if there is a block there, it will add one more to the win objective, making the total to 2. Now if there's another here, it will do exactly the same thing, add another, and put it to 3. But if we have one of a different color here, it will go through that exact same thing when it was trying to check to see things, except it will come up with a different result and it will set it back to 0. But if it was one of these, it would set it to 4. And then over here by this gold circuit, all it's doing is checking to see if any of these wind detect objectives ever reach a minimum of 4. In which case, outputs onto the comparator, locks the panel, and sets the blue player as 1. Same applies for the red, and the idea is, instead of going all the way up and then all the way down, what it does is it goes and checks all of these at the same time, then all of these at the same time, and they're all mapped onto different objectives so they don't interfere with one another. And I could have even more objectives if I wanted to, and just do the whole board at once and make it about 4 times quicker. But that was just too many objectives, and I had better things to do. But you could do that, definitely a possibility. And we'll be going over more to do with this, and actually kind of building it in the series I mentioned. But anyway, that's about it for this video, and I thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, a like rating would be much appreciated, and again, if you want to download the map, it will be in the description below. So, hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.